Mhm. Good afternoon. I greet you today from my apartment in the old city of Riga, Latvia. My name is Charles Kelly. I'm a Latvian American, and I've been involved in pastoral ministry and also intercultural ministry for my entire career. I'm also an artist, and I play piano. Today, I'd like to share with you a special topic: art, the language of the European soul. But first, let's look at two foundational verses. And we start at the beginning. For in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's foundational in so many ways. And then in Acts chapter 1, the Lord Jesus gave his fifth great commission to his followers, and he said, "You shall receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witness in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth." Now, I've thought about these two passages: power in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the ends of the earth, and God created, and then the long list. And so I'd like to share this with you. In the beginning, God created truth, goodness, beauty, creativity, art, and artists. In his image and according to his purposes and for his glory, God created pianists, painters, and poets. He created singers, sculptors, and songwriters. He created both the musician and the muse. And God said, "It's very good." Through the ages, art and artists have developed in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the ends of the earth, including Europe. And every European artist who follows the Lord Jesus has been granted talents and the responsibility to use those talents for the building up of the church, the betterment of society, and the furtherance of the gospel. Europe, it's a complex place, isn't it? More than 770 million people live in Europe, and they inhabit more than 50 countries, depending on how you define country in Europe. And more than 250 languages are spoken here. And the complexity just gets deeper and deeper as more and more of the world immigrate to Europe. Now, even though more than 250 languages are spoken here, what one language do all Europeans speak? Well, I've already given you the hint, haven't I? It's heart language. Now, Wycliffe and its program SIL defines a heart language as the most effective language for communicating deeply, as well as for learning new concepts. And of course, when Wycliffe talks about heart language, they're talking about literal languages. But I'm using that more as a metaphor to describe art as the heart language of the European soul, simply because art speaks to hearts. Why speak the language of art? I believe that if we want to impact European culture for Christ, we must learn and use the language of the European soul. I think this means that we need to dig deeply into cultural roots, including artistic roots, and grapple with crucial ideas, problems, and needs. We must create and use art that communicates deeply and relevantly. This pertains to both art and artists. Art is the language of values, experience, and emotions. Of course, it's more than that. And artists have been created with the capacity, therefore, to speak to hearts. And of course, there's more to that as well. Now, Aleister Gordon is an author and speaker and the director of Morphe Arts in the UK. And he recently wrote an excellent book entitled Art Matters. In a world of turmoil, I believe art matters more than ever. Art can bring about positive change, economic resilience, political action, even social revolution. He continues that art reminds us of the things that really matter. It can lift our eyes to eternity, but it can also show us the importance of the here and the now. I think he's spot on. And now let's hear from the great novelist Madeleine L'Engle in her classic, A Wrinkle in Time. Art is communication. There exists today an enormous disparity between the glory, wonder, and reality of Christ and what the world believes to be the church. What a tragedy. Can art help restore the church's declining and damaged reputation? I wonder how. Now, underneath art are three important realities. The first is imagination, the root of creativity. It's the ability to recall things that aren't present to our senses. Francis Schaeffer wrote in his little classic Art and the Bible, the Christian is the one whose imagination should fly beyond the stars. Albert Einstein, I am enough of an artist to draw freely upon my imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited imagination encircles the world. I was so surprised when I read that the first time. Underneath art is imagination, and then there's creativity, which is applied imagination. It puts imagination to work. Let's hear from John Franklin, the executive director of Imago, a national initiative in support of Christians in the arts in Canada. At the very least, we want to say that the making of art is a creative activity that calls for skill and imagination. Some of you may be familiar with Ken Robinson, Sir Ken Robinson, who unfortunately just passed away in August. He's an educational specialist focusing on imagination and creativity. Amazing speaker, and really funny too. He wrote this: if you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original. Creativity is the process of having original ideas that have value. It's a process. It's not random. Okay, so underneath art is imagination. Underneath imagination is creativity. Underneath creativity is making. It's transforming. It's imagination and creativity into art. Now, underneath those three realities is the image of God, Imago Dei, if you will. I like to compare this with God's DNA. And we've each been born with God's DNA. Now, this is a metaphor, of course. We've been born with the capacity to dream, to sense beauty, to hope for a different future, to create and enjoy every kind of music, art, poetry, and dance. In the English language, image and imagination are connected. They have the same root. And we have imagination because we've been created in the image of God. We're creative because He's creative. And we create because He creates. We create because we've been born to create. Both testaments include powerful examples of the language of art spoken frequently and fluently. Let's look in the Psalms, for example. It's the largest book in the Bible, a collection of the language of art. 150 poems and songs, and all sorts of songs, all sorts of poems. And of course, there are prayers there as well, and references to historical things that actually are set to poetry. It's a genius book, isn't it? Here's another Old Testament example from 2 Chronicles 20. Jehoshaphat deployed singers in battle. They spoke the language of art in a critical situation for the nation. Let's look at Miriam, the sister of Moses, who celebrated God's victory with dance and song. I don't think she quite understood that she was speaking the language of art. David spoke the language of art when he used his music as spiritual warfare. He was ministering to King Saul, who was terribly depressed and even afflicted by the evil one. Do we understand the power of art and the way it has been used of God in countless situations for his glory? Throughout the Bible, there are many examples of the language of art in use. Singing, songwriting, choral singing, instruments, writing, poetry, metaphors, allegories, drawing, sculpture, festivals, and drama, dance, preaching, storytelling, debate, creation of garments, fashion design, architecture, building, design, stone cutting, goldsmithing. The Apostle Paul was very gifted in artistic matters. He was a writer, he was a debater, he was a speaker, he was a master communicator. When Paul was at Mars Hill in Athens, he cleverly shared the gospel in the heart language of the people, and people responded. Let's look at Jesus, who purposefully spoke in parables, stories, and poems. He was a master in storytelling and a master in the art of pedagogy. An amazing example who spoke the language of art. Do we realize that Jesus created a participatory drama at the Passover feast? In fact, it's the most experienced reenactment in history. It's celebrated by untold millions every day. Leonardo Da Vinci, the great artist and scientist, painted this magnificent masterpiece of the Lord's Supper more than 500 years ago. Through the centuries, people have been drawn to this piece because it calls them, it reaches out to them, it speaks to them, it touches their hearts, and then they want to go back and see it some more. Such is great art. Now, in Latvia today, there is also an excellent artist. Her name is Vita Luxtina, and she's a painter, and she's actually part of our artist fellowship, Imago Dei. Now, she painted a triptych of 3 canvases, and this is a large triptych. You see, it's more than 3 meters wide, and it shows both the ancient and the modern. And so this is the Jesus from Da Vinci's work, and these are the children of the world today. And this same Jesus who loved his disciples and gave himself for them loves these children. It's called perfect love. Let's look at another piece. Another artist who speaks the language of art fluently is Jan Erik Johansson, a professional painter from Malmö, Sweden. This painting is fascinating, isn't it? When he exhibited at the National Library in Riga a few years ago, and he was explaining his various pieces, he stopped in front of this one and he didn't say anything. People had to figure it out. Those who have a understanding of the teachings of Jesus could easily remember what he had said, that forgiveness is so important that you not only forgive 7 times, but 70 times 7. What a beautiful piece. In the next session, I'll introduce you to 2 more artists who speak the language of love fluently. And they will inspire you and touch your hearts. In conclusion, each of us can open our own eyes to the vast ways that art and artists impact our world for his glory. We can encourage artists to pursue their callings with all of their hearts. We can pray for them. We can become their friends. We can help support their projects. Churches can help support the projects of their artists when they are speaking the language of art clearly. We can take part in artistic events as opportunities not only for ministry, but for friendship and bridge building and connection with the language of art that speaks to hearts. Pastor Timothy Keller wrote, "We need Christian artists because we're never going to reach the world without great Christian art to go with great Christian talk." Art is the language of Europe. Let's speak it